And so no one really has kind of common denominators on our team. I have a 70-year-old who's been doing ministry for 50 years. I got a 50-year-old empty nester, a 40-year-old who's single, never even been in a relationship. I got a 25-year-old who's married with a baby, interns, a widow, divorced. Like, it's just like across the board, we have little in common on our team. And so this framework has helped me lead our team to build out a unified strategy and what we're aiming at and what we're kind of pointing towards. And so this one, specifically this breakout, I think is shorter. So if y'all are okay, we're going to fly like through this. Cause I think they gave us 60 minutes and we're already like 10 minutes in. So the packet that we have, if you kind of open it, truths that must shape everything. So this applies to like young adult also. I'm gonna close this in. All right. So what's your role? Which church are you at? What's your role?
First Belton.
Oh, sick. Come on, dude. South Houston, but I went to ETBU, and then we've had a bunch of, I say a bunch, we've had multiple of our college students come through UMHB. So that's awesome, man. Small room. College ministry is a pipeline. It's not a destination. I'm a huge advocate on don't build a silo. It's not worth it. Remember, bigger picture. Our job is to build the body of Christ, not to build our little kingdom within the kingdom, and then build for succession, not just this season. There's more you can read in that space that I put down, but a goal is to build a playbook that you could hand to someone, Lord willing, and they look at it and they say, wow, this is incredible. You don't want to build something and then, Lord forbid, like you pass away or God calls you to some new assignment and they take over the ministry and they're like, man, this is a nightmare. And so what we're going to walk through today is basically 5 steps to develop a healthy vision, to develop a healthy picture, and then to walk away from here with a target and like who kind of owns what in that process. And so this top left, right, define the desired future. I have some questions here I want you to think through. But the big thing here is like, man, what's the desire for the future of the ministry? And so with us, for specifically with our college ministry, when I first came on, a huge desire I had was a small group driven ministry. It wasn't that we were going to do other things. We wanted banger worship. We wanted an awesome service, great preaching, everything like that. But I really wanted to kind of hang our hat on small groups versus some other avenues in the ministry. So some questions for you to kind of walk through and process as you're thinking of the desired future. Who are we reaching? And if you have your, like if you look at the packet under that number 1 right there, who are we reaching? And so different churches have niche, like students are trying to reach. Last session, I had one of the guys say that they want to reach internationals. They have a huge international population on the campus by them. Law students, freshmen, athletes, internationals, disconnected Christians. One of my best friends is a college pastor in Conway at Second Baptist Conway, Arkansas. And they have an absurd amount of athletes that they're reaching. Like he has guys getting drafted in the NFL. You come to Sagemont, we're the most unathletic megachurch you'll ever see in your life. Like we're reaching like the esports team at the University of Houston. We just have a totally different demographic and people that we're like reaching and the Lord is using. So who are we reaching? What is changing in the students? So scripture memorization, faith sharing, discipleship, love for the church. What is changing in them? What kind of culture are we building? Is it a culture of discipleship, evangelism, prayer, hospitality, ownership, them actually owning the ministry, what leaders exist? And so you think, man, if your ministry doubled over the next 5 years, if it tripled, if it quadrupled over the next 5 years, who needs to be in place? We had for a long time members or attendees of the ministry, small group leaders, and then staff. Like that was the model. Now it's kind of attendees, small group leaders, coaches, and then staff. So we have kind of our 20s leading 20s, and then we have 30s, 40s, and 50s leading the 20s. So our coaches lead our small group leaders. And for our coaches, we kind of look for people in the next season of life. They don't have to be married. They don't have to have kids, anything like that. But we're strategically kind of putting that in place. So what leaders need to exist? The reason we did that was the ministry grew. we were reactive instead of being proactive. So the goal here is for you to think proactively, what would we need if something happened? Our strategy is we build a framework and a ministry that is ready to sustain revival and steward revival. We can't produce revival. Our job is to build a structure that the Lord looks at us and says, wow, like, good job. And then pours his spirit out, like, on the ministry that we're leading. So who are we reaching? What is changing in the students? What kind of culture are we building? What leaders exist? What are we known for? So that could be biblical depth, discipleship, love for the local church community. So take some time in that top left, and I want you to write down 3 to 5 things of defining kind of the desired future that you have. This is in 5 years. If this happens, you're happy. You're satisfied. It's like joy.
Here's changing in our students. Think more like, what do we want to change? Changing in students in 5 years.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the things that might help you as you're thinking through this is like, what is the one thing that like really sets you apart? And so is it small groups? Is it your service? Is it outreach? Is it prayer? Like what's the one thing you're really trying to hang the hat, like the culture on that you're building? And it can be different things. Like I know Drew with the congregation, he has the opportunity to lead out. Prayer is really where they hang their hat. Ours, very much so, small groups. And so there's room and there's space for it to be different things. For our student ministry, it's outreach. That's a huge, that's their one thing. And you want no less than 3, no more than 5. All right, so here's what we'll move to. Now that you kind of have your desired future and you have some things in that space of like, man, 5 years from now, if this is happening, ooh, that's a home run. It's a grand slam. The next question we want to ask is, how can we prove we're winning? And so what happens a lot of times with leaders is they dream, and they dream big, and they have this kind of vision in front of them of what the ministry would look like, but then they don't take the next step to ask, man, how would I prove that we're winning in that space? If I say we have an incredible small group culture, if I say we have an incredible prayer culture, an incredible outreach culture, an incredible, like, what is it specifically tied to each one of those that would say like we're winning? And so some of the categories to draw from, and they're in that packet: spiritual formation, so students in discipleship, scripture engagement, prayer, participation, leadership development, student leaders trained every year. So for us, I was our college pastor, high school pastor, and rec pastor. So I kind of oversaw those three ministries. I was preaching 3 times a week, 3 different sermons. I did it for 2 years. And then we had a new pastor come in, and he sat me down and he's like, hey, Chuck, like, the ministries are doing good. You're doing a good job. We're going to ask you to pump the brakes on rec. We're going to like pause that ministry for now. And I want you to pick between students or college. I ended up going the college route. But whenever I kind of hit that wall, I realized I was exhausted. I was drained. I'm now only over college. I don't know what to do next. So I actually called Paul, who preached yesterday. And I asked him, hey, like, what are you seeing across the nation that's working whenever, like, just anything? And he started talking about these summer projects that are going on. Basically, these summer discipleship initiatives that they're putting people through, intensives to mature them and to streamline them in leadership development. And I'm in South Houston. We're a commuter city. A lot of places lose college students when the summer comes. We keep college students because they're commuter. They go to community college, they go to U of H, like, they drive to school, and we actually get a bunch back who go to other schools and they come home for the summer. And so a summer discipleship initiative is something like, if I had leadership development here, the way that we began to prove we're winning is how many students we're putting through what we call project labor, which is being able to train them to train someone else on how to go from lost to a laborer for Jesus. And so maybe it's a leadership development, maybe it's evangelism, mission, local church integration. How many students or how many young adults do you have that are in your setting that also serve on Sunday mornings? So it's not just about the midweek that you own, but it's about integrating them within the church. And so integration, multiplication, maybe you want to see you have 5 small groups now, but you want to in 5 years have 25. Well, like, put a number to that. Like, it's like, if you're saying you want your small group culture to be the home run, well, what does that look like? For me, I'm over our Sunday school groups. That's one of my things that I own at Sagemont. One of my goals, because I'm looking at the growth of our church year over year. I've kind of broken it down to a percentage. I'm projecting what's probably looking like is going to happen. Well, how do I steward that growth with Sunday school groups? So I launch 5 a year is my goal, to be able to steward the growth of our church. That's roughly 20 to 30 people in a Sunday school class, 5 of them per year. That's kind of what we're projecting as far as growth and stewardship. And so I want our Sunday school, which we call connect groups. I want our connect groups to be healthy and to help people plug into life-giving relationships. How do I accomplish that? How could I say we're winning? Well, we're launching 5 groups every year. And so, like, I have put something to that. What I want you to do is write 3 to 5. Be specific. This isn't something that's general. More general is here. This is specific. Vague measurables aren't going to drive your behavior. And so for this section specifically, let's take like 10 minutes roughly. and establish some measurables that you could look at and say, like, it's driven from the desired future that you have for the ministry. All right, since there's three of us, we can hear from each other. Usually I partner you up, but we can do each one. So talk to us about your measurables. What do you got up there?
We have students who are notorious for consumer church. So they come to our Wednesday night worship expression because it's cool and hip, but our Sunday mornings are not the same.
They're not showing up. Yeah.
There's not a buy-in to local church intergenerational involvement. So in 5 years, we have 265 come on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Half of it come on Sunday mornings.
Okay.
So I'd love for those numbers to be the exact same.
Come on. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Great. We're growing. We're predominantly white. We serve a predominantly white institution, so the majority of our people are white, but we are growing as we gather data. We're growing in not just ethnic diversity, but also campus diversity. So we primarily serve Marion Baylor, but there's also Temple College. There's a military base nearby. We're growing in that, and so we're disproportionate in terms of those that are coming and then those that are in key leadership positions. So our representation isn't quite lining up with who's the
Right.
person. So I think like if we could get whatever percentage of people of color and other universities are coming to our college ministry, they need to be represented in leadership.
Yeah.
And they're not right now.
Yeah.
A bunch of white people are in leadership.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't wrong.
Right.
We need to be mindful.
Well, at like in Houston, as an example, we have a bunch of commuter schools, and then we have TSU, which is like a black university, just realistically. And then we have U of H right next to it. And so just building out strategies for reaching the campuses it's just unique and it just looks different, especially with military. Like those are all different. We have Ellington too, that like we had this is also another one, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, but like leveraging the organization. So like I would have a lot easier time at TSU than like the military base. Just realistically, my personality, like my history, my testimony, versus we have a 70-year-old pastor who was a Navy chaplain. And I learned that. And so something that we kind of teach our staff is like leverage the organization. And so leverage maybe people who could more easily infiltrate or more easily lead or more easily cast vision for some of those things. We don't have to do everything. Like we could help and bring people along with us. What you got in the back?
For us, we have a unique group to where most of our people are in the workplace, but we're not a college ministry, we're a young adult ministry. And so you run into a new set of challenges with scheduling and all that. So our core team, we're restructuring that right now, but every one of our core leaders discipling someone or a couple people. Our community groups, we're getting ready to launch those. And so we're about 20 minutes from UNT. So we have a couple of college kids that come. So we're going to, instead of being a college ministry, we want to minister to the college kids. And so we're going to do that through community groups. So I want at least one community group for college singles and married, so that they're still in the same life stage. And then we'll have our big group gathering, everyone together. 25% of our people in our ministry serving at the well. I would say we're close to that right now because with young adults, it's easier to get them there on a Sunday morning than a college kid. And then one leader for every serve team. So we have serve teams, and we want one person over each, whether it's coffee, greeter, whatever the teams are, have one person in charge of those, of each individual team.
Yeah. So what's y'all's like rhythm? Do y'all have like a midweek that y'all gather and
Tuesday nights?
Okay.
It's worship, teaching, and then break out into small groups.
do y'all have childcare?
No, so that's the cutoff is kids.
Okay.
So that's where we have singles, married, but as soon as it's just a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
Some of our leaders, like I have a kid.
Well, I'm interested. Like we're launching our young adult ministry, and so I was interested how y'all handle that.
Kids are kind of the cutoff.
Okay. And then y'all do what is the pass off there? Is it like Sunday school, or like for say I'm 29 and I have a kid and I'm married?
Yeah.
Where would I go?
That is one of the questions we're asking a lot of people here, because there's a rub right there. Like we had someone whose community is, we call it Devo, and they're 25 years old and they just had a kid, and they came to me and they were like, "Hey, are you kicking us out?"
Yeah.
And in the best way, I'm like, "Yes," but I have nowhere to send them either.
Yeah.
So now there's this awkward transition, but it'll have to be home groups in the church because that's all that's next.
Right. But you don't own home groups.
I don't own home groups.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying to make.
We're seeing that from college to young adults.
That's what I was going to say.
Yep.
A bunch of college students staying in the area.
Yeah.
And we don't have young adults ministry.
Yeah.
We just very recently started. We're a super Sunday school heavy church, and we just opened up kind of a young professionals group because there was a huge gap where college students graduate, and if you're not married and you're still in the area, it's like, do I belong here anymore? Like,
Right.
that anything to me. And so we've we've just opened that up, and it's grown like crazy because there's just needs to be a place. Like, that's all we want. We just want somewhere to say, hey, we still have something for you.
Right.
I think like
it's a big
in
need.
Argyle, it's really interesting because the college kids do hang out with the young adults.
Mm-hmm.
So and I was talking to, I can't remember the guy's name in Houston First,
Hunter?
college guy.
Is it Hunter Millenrix? Is he leaving? Is he going to
Yes,
Cali?
he's going.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Hunter. He said like in Houston, college kids do not hang out with young people.
No, yeah, for sure.
Argyle, Texas, it's small. They all hang out together regularly.
Right.
So we kind of combine the ministry where that may not work in certain
So is it 18 to 30?
18 to 30.
Is that really? Okay. Okay, read them again. What were they?
So-
Sorry, we derailed a little bit. Yeah.
3 core leaders discipling somebody.
Okay.
One community group for each life stage. And that's college, singles, and married. 25% of our people serving at our church on a Sunday morning. And then one leader for every serve team that we have in our young life
Yeah.
ministry.
Cool. All right, what you got over here?
Yeah, so we're a pretty small ministry as it stands right now. And so thinking of defining the desired future here, we don't have a ton of like structured discipleship. A lot of it is just myself and my wife, one-on-one with the students. And so having an actual discipleship pipeline, some sort of process, huge, and bringing on more as we grow. And we are growing slowly, bringing other adult leaders in. Our church is really, honestly, great in being multi-generational in our serving. And so I want to bring in, 30s, 40s, 50-year-olds to come and pour into our college students and to be examples of faith. So part of that, I want to have at least a semester, probably leadership training or recruiting, to pull from our church into our college ministry. And then I want to kind of shift discipleship from being exclusively one-on-one to being more small group centered. I think that's just more sustainable going forward. And so I would love to launch 2 groups not per semester, but we have students from both UNT and Texas Women's. And so I'd say we could, in a pretty healthy size, have a group or 2 per campus at least. And so I would love to launch those in the fall. And then this is back to the desired future. I wrote normal students inviting others. Because right now we kind of have this culture of like, most are just coming to be a part of the ministry. And then there's like the super Christians that are the ones that go out and really invite people or bring people along or are evangelistic. And I would love for that to just be the norm. Like, I would love for us to just have an inviting culture. And so to put on some sort of monthly kind of invite easy, like on-ramp event where our students can feel accessible and they can just bring others. So monthly invite easy events, launching 2 new groups in the fall, and then leadership training and recruiting each semester.
Yeah. I think one of the ways that's helped me with the guest engagement, I guess a good way to put it, is either putting a monthly retainment number. So we did outreach at one point 4 campuses. Now we've stripped it down to 2. And our number is 2 to 4 students retained. Mm-hmm. And like basically they walk through like engaged to like participating to membership. Yeah. Like, and so there's a little pipeline that we have like that they go through, but we made it specific. And the other side of it is you could do a percentage. And so it's like each semester we want to see 20% of our active attendee like be like our guest engagement. So if we have 100 people, we want to engage 25 guests throughout that time, and then have a retention kind of behind it. Yeah. What people, and here's what happens. If you start building out that type of framework and you start tracking numbers, it can drive people crazy. And I get it. Like, I'm not like a type A analytical guy. Like, I'm not. But over the past 5 years, we've been doing it. So I handed the playbook to our college guy now. His name's Elijah Martinez. He's here. And I got to sit down with him last week and pull up January, February, March, and April of 2023, 24, 25, 26, and show the numbers of like, here's where we were in January for 4 years. Here's where we were in February for 4 years. That's way healthier than saying January to February, because you don't know, midterms, like there's so many things that happen, like holidays, like May is vicious for anyone who's a part of a family, just in general. Like there's just so much that happens. And so we do it month by month, but because we've tracked, I've been able to say like, hey, here's January for 4 years. What do you see?
Yeah.
And so then he gets to speak into it and he's like, oh, here's where Chuck transitioned. But what about year two? Like you had, here's year one, here's year two. What do you think about that year one to year two? Like what's going on? And so real specific with percentages and numbers, putting it on paper and then being able to leverage that for years to come, helps like a lot. And so here's what I want to do next. So you kind of have a desired future. You have some measurables that you've identified. The hard part about this is now talking about obstacles. And here's the reality. And here's where I want to invite you into humility. Sometimes the obstacle is me. Sometimes it's you. It's very easy for us to say, there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. It's very hard to say, oh, like maybe I can lead more proficiently in this space. An example being, we don't have a leadership pipeline. Well, whose fault is that? It's the leader of the ministry. It's like, and here's an example for me. I developed a pipeline. We owned it. We ran the play. Elijah comes in. He ran that play for about a year. And then he was like, Chuck, is this kind of dated? Like, he's like, this was built for 9 years ago. Like, it's not like where it is now. And I was like, cool, let's revitalize. Let's like look through some new structures, some new wording, like some things along those lines. Because we launched our pipeline under a pastor who had been there for 50 years. We now are 2 pastors later. And like, we have a new like mission statement. We have a new discipleship strategy. There's so much that's new. The pipeline that we were running just doesn't make total sense. And so we're doing that. Event culture. Here's the thing about events. They're awesome. I'm a big event guy. We do a night of worship at the University of Houston. We partner with the BSM. We stand in the middle of the quad where there's like 9,000 beds in all the dorms, and we worship, we preach, we give an altar call. We're unapologetically loud with the gospel on campus. All of our events have a next step tied to them. So it's not good if you have an event culture, but it's not leading people to next steps. It's really good if you have event culture that's leading people to next steps. So like an example is with our staff, if you come to me and you say, hey, Chuck, I want to do a men's fishing tournament. We just did one of those. We had like 200 men show up for this fishing tournament, which was hilarious. We highlighted our men's Sunday school classes. So we had testimonies, we had a video that played, we had handouts that we gave out, and we told all of them, hey, if you don't have brotherhood, your next step is to get plugged into life-giving relationships. That's our verbiage in connect groups, which is our version of Sunday school. He came to me with a fishing tournament idea. It's very easy to be like, how in the world is that going to push the mission forward? But our mindset is events produce next steps. All I do is ask him, okay, what's the next step? Tell me. It could be a crochet event. If there's a next step, go ahead and run with it. And so like obstacles could be an event culture, but maybe it's just the event culture needs to pivot a little bit and it needs to change a little bit. It could be a lacking of systems. It could be that there are no systems. It could be dependent on you. Like maybe the ministry is dependent on you and your personality. Well, what happens the day that the Lord plucks you or the Lord brings you home? The last thing we want to do is build a ministry. And I have failed at this twice. And so I was at ETBU, built a ministry. It was very much so dependent on whoever was leading. At the time, it was me. When I left, it didn't sustain. Went to the next church, built a ministry. Very much so dependent on the personality on the person. Left, it didn't sustain. I faced that reality. I failed in that space, learned from it. And Lord willing, the ministry I just transitioned out of 2 years ago will thrive under the leadership as I hand him a playbook to run. And so it could be that the obstacle is dependent on you, which then prevents this next one, right? Students come, but they don't own the ministry. Well, if the ministry is dependent on staff, then we haven't given them the opportunity to own it. An example for us is we have something called a kingdom team in our college ministry, and it'll be in our young adult ministry too. We're kind of baptizing it and using it for young adults also. We were in a meeting and we were talking about how our students don't own the ministry. And we're like, well, how can we fix that? One of our interns, God bless her soul, this is an incredible idea. She was like, well, in the kingdom, everyone has a role. What if we call our servant opportunities, our volunteer opportunities, the kingdom team, because everyone in the kingdom has a role. Like in a healthy kingdom, everyone has a role. I was like, well, that's a great idea. And so like the whole volunteer team now is branded a kingdom team. Staff has gotten out of the way and we provided them opportunity to own it, to develop it. We have people in leadership who are helping with the trainings, the development of the leaders who sit in different places. It takes time, right? But that's why it's a 5-year vision. It's not a 5-month vision. And then maybe the mission is unclear. So there could be other obstacles. I want you to think introspectively first. Like, is there something maybe that you are an obstacle in that space? Maybe it's a training that you need. Maybe it's something that's not been put in place. Maybe you need to delegate and give some responsibilities away so that they get more ownership, and then start to think outside of that. So take like 5-10 minutes and start to jot down and write down, man, what are obstacles that would prevent you from achieving these measurables? It could be relationships. You have to develop relationships to be able to get to the desired outcome. Dude, this time goes so fast. Golly. This happened last time too, and I'm going so much faster this go around. It could be you need your leadership to be on board with some of the convictions that you have. That was a big thing for me for a lot of my change. Is if my boss isn't on board, there's no point in me trying to row the boat in a certain direction. Maybe you need more buy-in from the congregation. Okay, once you have some of your obstacles, you can keep working on it, but we have a limited amount of time. So once you start thinking through it, you have the desired future, you have some measurables, you have obstacles that might stop you or prevent you from reaching through to those measurables. Think, okay, for the next 12 months, what must happen? Do you have to deal with an obstacle? Do you have to build a bridge to reach whatever that measurable is specifically? But think over the next 12 months, what has to happen? What needs to be done to start getting to that 5-year vision? An example for me, I oversee all our Sunday schools. I got a bunch of old heads that are on my leadership. I got a bunch of dudes who have been preaching, a bunch of ladies who have been preaching in Sunday schools for 40 years. They're in their 70s. Well, you know what happens to people in their 70s? Last breakout, someone said they die. I was like, no, that's not where we're going. They land the plane and they retire in a sense, and they don't have the capacity to serve at the pace that they have served historically. I want to honor them, and I want to give them space to land the plane. So what I need to do is, if I have 50% of my leadership that's 60 and up, I need to strategically have a teaching cohort to produce teachers of the Bible to take over and to be able to run at the pace that they have run for 50 years. And so for the next 12 months for me, when I went through this, one of mine is launching a teaching cohort so that people can lead in Sunday school. And so for you, it could be something else. But think through all three of those boxes. You have the desired future, the established measurables, you have some obstacles, then think through what are the next things over 12 months that must happen. Not exhaustive, think 3 to 5. You do too many, nothing will get accomplished. And a big thing about priorities, when you clarify priorities, our women's minister says this, clarity is kindness. And like, that's super like whatever, she, I don't know how you want to call it, but it's true. Like when we have clear priorities that are running through obstacles, getting around obstacles, that are establishing measurables, that are getting us to our desired future, our staff loves that. Our leaders love that. So what needs to happen in the next 12 months? You want to launch small groups? Well, you got to have leaders. You want to disciple people? What? How? How are you going to do it? Do you need a tool, a discipleship tool that you're training people in? You want more evangelism? What's your strategy going to be? Where are you going to do it? And then once you get done with your priorities, think through immediate action. So you need a next step, an owner, and a deadline. So you have your priorities down. Really, the next 90 days, you're thinking, okay, I know what I want to do in the year. Well, I have 90 days from now. What has to happen in the next 90 days? What are the next steps? Leverage the organization. I am in the process of launching a Sunday school class for widows and widowers. You know who I need to run that class? Widows and widowers, or maybe former widows and widowers who got married. And so a part of my process is I have a couple, Dan and Norma Hanks, widower, got married. They're going to help potentially be a part of leadership. So part of my 90-day is my next step is I need to have a conversation with Dan and Norma. I own it. I have a due date. I have a deadline that I have to have that conversation by. Also my admin. I have one where my next step is I have to get with her about the promotion of this Connect group. I own it, but I got to get with her and I have a deadline, like talking through that. And so there's all different kinds of little tiny nitpicky things it could be, or it could be really big. You got like 6 minutes. So I'm not rushing you. I'm just letting you know. Last 2 minutes, I want to pivot and share with you how to implement change. Are y'all lone wolves or do you have staff?
Lone wolf, brother.
Okay. What about you?
I have a part-time guy who like 10 hours a week.
Like intern, basically. Like kind of. Yeah.
But the goal is to move him either like the full-time, part-time, because he has 3 jobs right now at the church, so he's being pulled, and so we move him just part-time, or our church is going through like a generations campaign, and the young adults are heading that, and so I could see a push for full-time.
Yeah.
As well.
Cool.
I see that. I don't know if our elders see that.
I feel that. Yeah.
Meeting with them.
All right, let's look at this last piece. So you can walk through and finish that. The big thing here is like to get to your 5-year desired future, you just run this play. And so you get to 12 months, you take a step back and you say, hey, we're 4 years out. What's got to happen? Like, what do we got to do? What's next on the docket to get to that? And you run this play, and it helps your staff have clarity. It helps your leaders have clarity. It helps people be able to breathe because they know what they own. They know what their next steps are. I want you to look at the back of this packet. This is more important than any of this. And here's why. When you lead change, you will lead change in such a way that your peers, your staff, your flock, your leaders will love you or they will hate you. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. A lot of times we run at a pace, we think at a pace that's faster than those that we oversee, especially the flock, especially if you have any intergenerational influence at all. You have to learn to pace yourself in a fruitful way. And so this is a tool. We launched a 3rd service at Sagemont. We have been doing 2 services for 55 years, 56 years. We launched a 3rd service, and I took our Sunday school groups, and at every hour, if you come with your grandparent, with you, or let's say your parent and your grandparent. So let's say 80s to 90s, 60s to 70s, 30s, 40s. At every hour, we can service all 3 of those generations with our Sunday school groups. You know who didn't like that? Our Sunday school groups, because I split them up. I said, hey, we got 5 70s groups. I'm going to put you at different hours. So if someone comes in there in 70, I have somewhere to send them. What I did was I walked through this. So I asked the question, is there a sufficient need or belief for the need for change? Yes, we need 3 services. We don't have space for new people. We have to launch a 3rd service. The answer was no. You know who didn't believe that there was a sufficient need? Is my senior adults. They didn't. Well, our church is a lot of white hairs. And so the answer is no. Well, what I needed to do was raise awareness, overcome denial, spend time with key leaders, getting input and buy-in. So I had one-on-ones for 3 months. Just sat with them. And I was like, talk to me. I'm drinking from the well that you built. Is something that I would say. You built this well. I get to drink from it now. I want your input. I covet your input. Talk to me. And so met with them. They're like, you know what? You're right. We do want to have new people like at the church. We do want to see everything continue. Okay, now it's a yes. Has there been thorough analysis of the problem? No. Well, then you have to engage main reasons for the change, why they are necessary, create a document of explanation. Once you have that document, once you have it on paper, the answer is yes. Has a clear strategy been developed? Engage in strategy ideas with key leaders, those who can impact the change. Yes. Is there a detailed plan? No. Then you engage in planning that defines roles, tasks, authority, responsibility. Yes. Key leaders and critical mass and support. No. You have to engage in building consensus. If it's yes, then you have successful change. This tool, I cannot stress enough, whether it's small group leaders, the congregation, if they're 70, if they're 20, it works. And so I am not the creator of this. If you look, Genesis from the First 90 Days by Michael Watkins, but this will help you so much as you build and create change and sustain change. Also, my information is right here. So chuck.davenport@sagemontchurch.org, 817-705-9311. I love this, so I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to walk with you in this. You ever looking for a preacher? I'd love to come spend time with y'all, spend time with your crew. If you just want someone to hear you and to bounce ideas off of, I'm as accessible as I can be. I got 3 kids. I work full time, but if I'm available, I'd love to talk to you. So don't hesitate. Take my information down. I'd love to connect further beyond this. My hope is that you win. I have no greater joy than seeing other people win and have kingdom impact. Let me pray for y'all and then we'll dismiss. God, I thank you for these men. Thank you for the opportunity they get to serve and the capacity they get to serve. I ask that as they work a plan a work, implement it, they go, they run the race, that you would bless it, that you would bless their leaders, you'd bless their families, you bless the congregation that they get to oversee, that you would be with them as they hope for your kingdom to grow through their efforts. I thank you so much for the time we get to spend together this week. It's all for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.